Yay, aloha, and welcome to A Course in Miracles deep dive with Hope Johnson. We have some fun material to cover. The real meaning of the Last Judgment from part 13 in chapter 2 of A Course in Miracles. We're going to start that one today. But first, we're just going to tune in a little bit. You can call it a prayer. Course in Miracles says pray without ceasing, and Jesus teaches us how to pray in there, to ask for Christ's vision, ask to see truly. Ah, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for orchestrating all of this so we can live our function in undoing the mind, undoing the thought of separation. It's a joy to be part of this celestial speed up, as Jesus calls it. It's a joy to do the will of God, so to speak, because it's making happy. Yay. Thank you to Jesus, to Christ consciousness, to our higher self, you could say, or God. There's only one of us. Thank you to that which joins with us to help us see the deep meaning behind these pointings, behind this teaching device called A Course in Miracles, and all of the words in there. Thank you for never-ending love, unending, unbroken. Thank you for extending your love perfectly through us. Thank you for never leaving us abandoned, even though it looks like we abandoned you. Thank you for being true through everything that we walk through that is false and helping us recognize the difference between the two. Yay. Amen. Let's read. Thank you for joining, lovely. I appreciate you. Okay, so we're starting with chapter 2, section 13. Oh, okay, yeah, section 13, because I have chapter 2, section 12 here. I just want to summarize section 12, so we pick up where we left off last time. I know I have at least two people here that did not do the last ACIM deep dive. So the previous section, section 12, the mastery of love is the name of that one. That one clarified the real solution to the mind's basic conflict. We went over basic conflict. That's the conflict between love and fear, the basic conflict. So Jesus was emphasizing that the entire spiritual error stems from this level confusion, that fear can be mastered, that fear can be somehow useful for getting what I want, right? To try to master fear is to give fear power and reality. We don't want that. The only reasonable and meaningful mastery there is the mastery of love, because love is everything and fear is nothing. Okay. But because our mind believes in fear, conflict is temporarily unavoidable. So there's this conflict between love and fear in our mind. The ego's position on it is totally illogical. It's always about continuing the separation. So the miracle, which corrects the error at its own level, must appear illogical to the ego. For instance, allowing mercy for someone who's murdered in your imagination. That's illogical to the ego. Totally illogical. First thing the ego does go to some kind of heinous act, heinous person, and look at them and go, that can't be forgiven. So the miracle is illogical to the ego. Two irreconcilable ideas can't coexist. That's everything and nothing, also known as love and fear. Whenever there's believing in fear as a reality, that's abolishing the awareness of love. You can't have both of those. Can't be aware of both of them. The ego's refusal to expose the darkness is an attempt to hide the separation. It's trying to hide the separation. It's just another way the ego uses in a really efficient way. The ego thinks you don't want to look on that darkness. You don't want to look on the underlying thought that's projecting this feeling right now. You'd rather make it about something in the world, even something about yourself as an individual, like, wow, I'm really bad at this, or I'm addicted to this, or something like that. That's not the same as looking on the underlying unconscious mind, which, or unwatched mind is another way of saying it. When you're watching that, when you're noticing that, fear does come up. But what Jesus is saying is that there's really nothing to fear. You go through it to know love, to return to love. And it's just a feeling in the body's energy field. It really is nothing. When you recognize it's nothing, really what you're embracing is an energy, right? You can even look at it as something that's similar to like giving birth. It's like when a mother is giving birth, she's just surrendering to the process, knowing that she wants the outcome, right? If she's afraid of it, then she's trying to take pain meds and trying to get away from it. But where there's a mindset where you're willing to embrace the energies that are flowing through and the sensations that are arising, everything becomes easy. No matter what it is, it becomes easy because everything really is only arising and passing away as a sensation. The story about it isn't really true. Abraham Hicks would say, you just gotta get that it's an emotional journey. Not so much this physical journey that it appears to be. So Jesus stated in this section that separation has occurred as an idea in the mind. It doesn't mean it occurred in reality, but it is reality to you. You have this whole unconscious mind, especially when you're first starting out, full of ideas that make you as a separate self to yourself. And even if you hear this and you believe this and you go, yes, those thoughts of separation are going to be cropping up. And when you recognize it's just a feeling sense that you're getting in reaction to them, you can embrace that. So Jesus also explained how focusing on the error is another misuse of the mind's power. True correction is using the spiritual eye, true vision. Also, some people call it third eye. To recognize error. What is error? It's something that speaks to not love. It's an upset feeling is arising. It's only a signal that correction is immediately needed. That's what Jesus was saying in this section. It's a signal that correction in your mind is immediately needed. Your readiness, your deciding that you're going to use your mind for this purpose allows the atonement to be accepted without delaying you. It's like, yes, once there's a yes within you, yes, I'm using my mind for this purpose. I'm using this mind to aid in the awakening. If you're listening to A Course in Miracles or something similar to this, that's how you know. You agreed before incarnation to help with this awakening, with this celestial speed up. That's why Jesus came with this information. He was saying people were losing more than they were gaining. Humanity was losing more than gaining. What that means is we're making more time than we're collapsing. So, this could last forever. Like, we definitely want to speed it up. Yeah. So there's no compromise. This was a big theme in this section between everything and nothing. Time itself is the device through which all of our compromises are getting undone. Okay, it's not saying that compromise itself is real. It's not real, but our mind believes in intervals and gradations. So that's why it seems to be awakening in intervals. In a dream, it's like we walk through a doorway and we're at a new space in consciousness. And truly, what we are doing is collapsing timelines, things that we don't have to live out. We don't have to play out. We want to collapse the time so it doesn't have to keep playing out. We actually get to the end of time. So, of course, Jesus affirmed God's love for his son when he revised John 3:16, a very popular verse in the Bible. He said, God has only one son, and all minds are part of the unified sonship. The sonship as one is greater than the sum of its parts, but loses awareness of this wholeness when even one part is missing. One part. That means one aspect of the Son of God that you scattered over the earth. If you would make one of them guilty, the conflict within your mind can't be fully resolved. Your mind needs to return to awareness of unity before the basic conflict in your mind between love and fear can be resolved. Jesus also critiqued the idea of negative numbers as symbolic of, like in mathematics, as symbolic of the ego's belief in degrees of nothingness. He said it was an impossible concept. We were talking earlier, me and my friends talking earlier about how our love is truly currency. No one can be in debt. No one truly needs to or even does pay for anything except in their imagination. Let's come back to recognition of that. All this minus this idea of debt, all this other stuff. It's an ego belief system that doesn't really mean something. So the sonship chose to believe in incompleteness. That's why we perceive this imaginary world. But that belief is identical with believing in nothingness. So the atonement, what Jesus set into motion here, it corrects the error of believing in nothingness. The same thing as believing in fear. He revisited the idea of readiness in this section. He said it's only the prerequisite for accomplishment, but it's not accomplishment itself. It shows some willingness, but it's not full and not yet confidence. He's saying that confidence comes with mastery, and that comes from your willingness, perceiving an illusion, noticing your reaction, and recognizing that it's a signal that correction is immediately needed. See that? It's really simple. So Revelation may come, but that doesn't mean you've mastered the communion of love, because it's basically communion. So readiness is the beginning of confidence. Jesus is saying it's awesome. Just, don't get over feeling overconfident about it. Just recognizing you're gonna have things to learn. You're gonna perceive yourself messing it up. Be a happy learner. Don't worry about it. Readiness is the beginning of confidence, and through time you'll be made confident, is what he's saying. And finally, time and space are under Jesus's control. Hooray! So we cruise on to the last judgment, the real meaning of the last judgment. Welcome, everyone. I love you. Paragraph 1, sentence 1. Let me see what page we're on. By the way, this is the complete and annotated edition. And we're on page 105. Here's the text. Ooh, we got some thunder fun. Some thunder comes with this one. We have said that whatever you make or create is real in your eyes, but not necessarily in the sight of God. So here we have making and creating again. When we hear this in A Course in Miracles, what it's referring to is what you make is an illusion. It's not eternal. Creations are eternal. So what you make is real in your eyes. Let's say debt, for instance. It's real to you, but it's not real according to God, right? You've given that thing power. And then there's a footnote here where it was said was in part 11. So we're at part 13. And it says, it also follows that whatever you produce is real in your own eyes, but not necessarily in the sight of God. So he's basically referring back to when he said it 2 sections ago. Okay. So he's linking this new section on the last judgment back to this core principle already taught in the basic conflict. So he's going back to the basic conflict. That's where he talked about it. He's saying the mind has the power to produce illusions or create reality. It's one or the other, and you're always creating reality. So it's like, what do you want to be aware of? You can make yourself aware of making illusions, and then that'll cover over your creation and reality. And then that will be the only thing that's true for you. So what you make or produce through separation, it appears real to you only because you've believed in it. You've valued it, you've identified with it. Like my art, for instance. My fucking body of work with wisdom dialogues and ACIM deep dives, It's like there's nothing here to even identify with because it's not even real to God. God recognizes only what's created in love. What's created in love is eternal, right? Even my body of work with all this stuff, as brilliant as it is, it's not eternal. It may be helpful if you're in that place where you find these pointers helpful. So by repeating this idea, Jesus is repeating it here, and it says this kind of thing in different places too. Like we need to know the difference between making and creating. We need to know the difference between what's eternal and what's make believe, right? For the atonement to occur through us. So by repeating this idea, he's establishing this essential premise for the last judgment, for this chapter. God does not judge illusions because he does not see them as real. You judge illusions, and if you judge them rightly, that's the last judgment we're talking about. You judge them as nothing, that's the last judgment we're talking about here. The last judgment is not about God doing anything. He's not about God evaluating anything. It's your mind evaluating what it made and choosing to keep only what's real. Keep only the love. Keep only the extensions of love. Denying reality to what you made. Choosing to keep what's real. Recognizing it feels really real to me, but choosing truth. So this is, you might call it in other spiritual traditions, it might be called discernment. I bet you've heard that before. If you've studied any other spiritual traditions besides A Course in Miracles, you've heard it called discernment. Isn't that fun? So discernment is basically you're able to see the false as false. There was one tradition, I forgot what it was. It might have been Zen or something like that, where they just practice this practice called neti, not that, not that, not that, to every form that occurs and everything that crosses their mind. So it's like being willing to see the false is really, this is the kind of judgment that it is. It's a discernment is a good word for it. So he's repeating it because he's emphasizing to us this liberating truth. Your illusions seem real to you because you believe in them. Belief alone is giving power to your perceptions. But because they're not real to God, they have no eternal effect. So the last judgment is that instant you agree with God. God saying these things do not have any eternal effect. Only the eternal is real. You are the eternal. So in the last judgment, you've agreed with God. And you're not making a judgment on yourself. You're judging illusions as such. You're not even something that can be judged. But you do tend to listen to the ego's evaluation of you. And that definitely blocks miracle mindedness. If you're listening to the ego evaluating you, you got to get before your identity, before that. You're before the ego making any uh, interpretation or evaluation on you. You're the one who makes the evaluation on it. That's why it's called the last judgment. It's done. It's done with having you listen to its judgment. It is now being judged as what it is, falsehood. So, you could look at just throughout the day when you're looking at the particulars of your life and seeming to get upset over things and stuff like that. You can just ask, is this something that I made? Just notice, is this something that I made or is this eternal? If it's not something that's eternal, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a symbol. It's not even really there. So help me see, another way of saying that is help me recognize the unreal as unreal. And remember that the truth is true. That's a true prayer. So the last judgment is like a sorting out of truth and illusion. It's part of a process of awakening where you do a lot of sorting out. There's periods where you do a lot of sorting out because you just see so much in your mind. And that's what you're doing. You're sorting out. You're going, okay, that's illusion. Okay, that's illusion. That's illusion. That's illusion. Until you're just used to recognizing illusion as such. So we feel good. We're good for sentence two, everyone. You guys doing good? All right. This basic distinction leads us directly into the real meaning of the last judgment. So, the basic distinction we're talking about here is creating or making. That's what he's talking about. Again, he's saying we need to know the difference between these things. This basic distinction leads us directly into the real meaning of the last judgment. So he's telling us that understanding the difference between what's made, that's ego, illusion, and what's created, spirit, reality, is the essential doorway into receiving in your mind the true meaning of the last judgment. So it's recommended if you don't get that yet. And, one of my friends just let me know the other day that he doesn't get it. He said, if everything's created by God, how can any of this be not created by God? Okay, let's see if you understand this distinction. If you don't, I recommend going back over it until you do, because Jesus is saying this is essential, like knowing the difference between making and creating. And it's going to be really important that you do not see this as duality as well. Okay, because you made duality, you made it up. What's true is true. The created is true. What's make believe is what you made in duality with creation. A mind that's projecting itself as being in duality with creation. It's not really true. It wasn't created because it's not really there. Can you experience what's not really there? Yes, you can. Your mind is powerful like that to project something that's not really there and believe in it. And then the ego comes in to say, well, if God created everything, then God created this too. Shit, you're in trouble. God created that because the creations of God are eternal. So then the friend tells me, nothing is eternal. And I'm like, correction. Nothing that you perceive is eternal. That's why this world is a meaningless world. Nothing that you perceive is eternal. You are eternal. Can you get the sense, like when you just check in with yourself, you're eternal. And you don't want to spend eternity. Thank goodness you can't, but it could seem like eternity the way you keep on projecting time out, perceiving illusions. You want to be back to your creating as fast as possible. Everyone wants this. For the most part, they don't know, or they don't know how to do it. This is great. Jesus is coming around telling us how to do it. Easy too, and joyful. So, why is this the essential doorway, so to speak, to receiving the meaning that Jesus is talking about? Why is that? It's because the last judgment isn't about evaluating you. You will be evaluating you if you don't understand this difference between making and creating. If your body is not eternal, you made it. If that thought about something is not eternal, you made it. If you did something mean to someone, you made it up. If you murdered hundreds of thousands of people in your dream, you also made that up. You didn't do it. I like how that got accentuated with thunder. That was great. So this is about evaluating what's real versus unreal in your mind. If you let evaluations of yourself just run, then you're not able to do the last judgment. You're not able to, you could say, perform the last judgment. If you believe the ego's productions, and it is like a production, it's like a movie or video game, the last judgment feels terrifying. It's as if you're being judged. You don't want to be judged. But if you understand this distinction that Jesus made, that only illusions are being judged, they're being judged as nothing. That's what the last judgment is. Illusions are being judged as nothing. So only the truth is preserved in your mind, and that truth is what you are. So you're recognizing what you are. So this takes us from a fear-based interpretation of the last judgment to a healing-based one. This is where Jesus is preparing our mind to accept that the last judgment is what we want. It's not a punishment. It's just bringing the truth in. It's not about God deciding your fate. Okay, it's when you as Christ decide what in your mind is worthy of keeping. What's worthy of keeping? That's the Christ mind that does that. And you don't have to wait for this. You don't have to wait a certain amount of time or anything like that. You just be willing to notice what in your mind is worthy of keeping. What is worthy of you in your mind? So illusions aren't even being condemned here. They're just recognized as unreal. So, and then the truth is just acknowledged when illusions are recognized as unreal. That's how the truth is acknowledged. So practically, we can begin to reinterpret judgment now. It's not to attack. True judgment is clear seeing. Every time you're discerning between a fearful thought and a loving one, you're already doing it. You're engaging in the last judgment. That's the last judgment. It's not something that is against you. It's a process of releasing what's not you. Basically, what you propped up to be against you, and then be afraid of the last judgment, thinking that's against you. So you can keep that thought that has to keep on evaluating you. So this is how we're going from self-condemnation to liberation. And if you'll take this, literally, that any attempt to evaluate you is basically self-attack, you're implementing the final judgment. So that was paragraph 1. Apparently, it was a very short paragraph. Wait, let's see. Paragraph 1. Final judgment is one of, oh, yes. Oh, I see what's happening. Yeah, paragraph 1 was only 2 sentences. So we're on paragraph 2 already. Yay. Paragraph 2, sentence 1. Here's the text. The final judgment is one of the greatest threat concepts in humanity's perception. So Jesus is calling attention to how deeply the ego has distorted this concept of last or final judgment. Collectively, humanity is perceiving this as a moment of ultimate danger, a divine reckoning. The wrath of God is coming. Punishment is inevitable. If you think anyone's getting this, anyone is going to have to suffer the wrath of God, you secretly believe that about yourself, and that means correction is needed immediately. All believing that about yourself is doing is continuing to push time forward, to project time. It's the ego who believes in guilt and punishment and projects that nature onto God. There's none of that in God. There's a terrifying image of God in the collective consciousness. Look at the stories. One of which he asked someone to kill his son to show his love for Jesus or God, or I think it was God in that time. Another one quote unquote weak woman ate an apple and made thousands of years of suffering and terror for everyone. God did that to them because he loves them. Who's going to believe in such a God anymore? Who's going to believe in such a treacherous, evil God? That is the ego's God. The ego projects a God that hates his children so much that he kills them. Apparently, he gave his favorite son a brutal death on a cross to save the others who aren't even doing it. No one needs that. It's just that's the reason. That's the reason even the word God strikes fear in the heart of people. People a lot of the times don't even want to go there. Don't even tell me about God. Go away from it. Go away from me. But when you look at God, how Jesus is describing him here in A Course in Miracles, and you can feel for yourself when you just open up to it, more like, symbolically, everything we can use here, words and the things we talk about are all symbolic, but symbolically, like a loving father, totally loving, totally sees that what you think you did, you didn't do. Now, he doesn't even know what your stories are. He doesn't care what your fucking stories are. All he knows is that you think you're over here doing shit and making yourself guilty. All he's waiting to do is like cuddle you up and fucking tell you it's okay. You didn't really do anything. So the result in the collective consciousness is this terrifying image of a judgmental God. And that's why people think that it's godly to project judgment themselves and decide who needs punishment. That's why, back in at least in my day when I was a kid, man, you had to punish your kids, otherwise the other people around you would be like, "Hey, your kid's fucking everything up." That was the story, right? In order to keep them in line, it was the collective consciousness. So like you have to punish them. You have to know between good and evil. You have to know between right and wrong, so you can instill it into your kids through punishment. That's because of the stories being projected onto God. Humans are going to be exactly the way they think that God is. So this is changing the perception of what God is actually doing. He's not, their judgment isn't something that's in God, it's projected onto a screen of consciousness. That's why it doesn't really happen. It has to be projected. Projected means it's like you're dreaming. Yeah. All right. So the ego's using this concept of judgment as a psychological weapon. This keeps the mind afraid of God and listening to what people say to do. It's basically a uh, society of slaves, enslaved to the ego. Falling in line, right. Everyone keeping each other in line. COVID was a really good symbol of that, right? How the ego works. Okay, we're all afraid of something, and I'm afraid of your body. And if you're not doing it right, I'm going to shame you until you get in line.
Feel uncomfortable.
All right, I'll just do it because you guys are shaming me. Right? That's kind of like how it is when you're a little kid. Right? You're saying the stuff that you know because you know some shit, and the adults are like, no, sorry. Now everyone isn't doing everything for you. Sorry, that's not the case. So by recognizing this up front, what Jesus is saying again, the final judgment is one of the greatest threat concepts in humanity's perception. So he's preparing us for the dismantling of fear around this, restoring the meaning of the final judgment, restoring it as an act of liberation, not some kind of condemnation, not some kind of decision. It is a decision for eternity. It's a decision for eternity over illusion. And it's an eternal, you can say it's an eternal decision. It actually adds up and becomes more helpful. Each decision is like that. So judgment is only going to frighten you if you believe you're guilty. If you perceive someone else being judgmental toward you, notice your reaction. When you're reacting to their apparent judgment, they can't even see you. There's no way they can judge you at all. They're talking about it's self-talk, right? So if you believe that you're guilty, you're getting a reaction. This is not a bad thing. It's a symbol that your mind needs correction. Some belief in guilt is ready to be healed and can be healed when you recognize what the whole experience is for. It's also going to be frightening to you if you believe that God would condemn you. It's also going to be frightening to you. The last judgment is going to be frightening to you if you believe that what you made here, what you made, these errors in perception have real consequences. If you believe they have real consequences, then you're going to be afraid of the last judgment. Nothing you seem to have done in the past affects you right now. It's only your present moment state of mind that's projecting your experience now. So the only reason the final judgment is even being perceived as a threat, God is being perceived as a condemner or something threatening, is because the ego knows it'll be exposed. It also thinks it'll be destroyed, but it isn't an actual entity. So it's not getting destroyed. What's fueling the ego, what's powering the ego, just is back to source. It's back to being source. It's no longer misinformed. So it is the end of ego. That's why ego is afraid. But even the ego's self is source. See that? It is the end of ego, and it's okay because the ego self is source. The ego is never going to know that's okay because it doesn't see beyond its limited view. It doesn't see to the source like you can. Did something come to mind?
Okay. It's almost the way the Bible describes God's relationship with Lucifer was his right hand man, or it's almost like came from the same place, but just lost its way or lost its
Right.
direction.
You're right. Lost direction. That's a good way to put it. And over millions of years, apparently. Kept adding it up, building it up. Yes. Yes. So every time there's a fear of being judged, it doesn't matter if it's God, others, yourself, remember, judgment is never against you. It's just recognizing what is eternal, what's innocent in you. By noticing that illusions are not anything. When they're recognized as nothing, they don't have any power over you. That's the direction you're going with all illusions. You actually have command over all illusions, but don't realize that command. You're actually in communion with the particles of everything by way of the creation. So, are we willing to let go of fear of judgment? Whenever you feel judged, talk, think about this, accepting the final judgment. When you feel judged, that's your reaction to someone's apparent judgment. That's self-judgment, right? They're not really capable of judging themselves either, but they believe their self-talk, right? So that's how you actually are healing. You're helping everyone see, recognizing that that judgment isn't even against you. It's a call for love. What am I going to do? How am I going to answer this call for love? I'm going to accept the final judgment for myself. That's an illusion, and only love is here. Easy. Only love is possible. Only love is real. If God didn't create it, it doesn't exist. Likewise, if you don't like it, it doesn't exist. Unless you're talking about eternity, but everyone likes eternity. They can't even help it. So, releasing fear of judgment allows us to accept the final judgment. Okay, it's the end of everything that wasn't me. It seems like it's the end of me, though, because of identification as an ego. That's all. Yay, everyone. All right. We're going on to another sentence now. I know you guys are excited. Paragraph 2, sentence 2. This is only because you do not understand it. So he's talking about the final judgment. It says, the last sentence, the final judgment is one of the greatest threat concepts in humanity's perception. And then he says, this is only because you do not understand it. So the reason for humanity's fear of the final judgment is not the judgment itself, it's a misunderstanding from what the judgment is, like we talked about in the last sentence and going into the last sentence. The concept itself isn't actually frightening. Nothing in God's plan is designed to cause anyone fear. The threat's only coming up because the ego misinterpreted the concept. So fear is not evidence of danger. That's another concept to see. Fear is not evidence that there is danger. It's evidence of confusion. So I noticed a little couple days ago or something like that. My mom told me, I don't think you should go to Washington. This has been a theme my whole life. I don't think you should go on that 4-H trip because if you go, something terrible is going to happen. And then the 4-H trip happens, and then I'm like, nothing happened to them, Mom. She's like, I know that's because you weren't on the bus. If you're on the bus, mayhem was going to occur. So when I was going to so when I was going to Mexico, same thing. Same thing. I go, Mom, I love you. I know that's just a feeling of fear. I'm doing great. I'm doing awesome. And the same thing with Washington. I go, it's not like, there's a perception too, like I have to go there, like I have nowhere else to go. I go, no, I got places to go. It's a calling. I'm being called there. It's just this evidence, fear to the ego is evidence of danger. So instead of, I feel afraid that you're going over there, that something bad might happen, and recognizing that as being a signal of confusion, there's making it real. See, it's a really easy example. See that? That's it. That's the choice to either make it real or look at it as evidence of confusion. Correction is needed right now whenever there's fear. So once the mind's willing, totally willing to understand the true meaning of fear, it just disappears. It's like, oh, it's just a signal to tell me my mind needs to be corrected. So this is setting the tone. This sentence is setting the tone for this whole section. The final judgment is not something to fear. It's something to understand correctly. Fear is always a sign that you're misperceiving. And Jesus is saying you're not afraid. You are afraid because you've misunderstood. And now I'm going to correct your misunderstanding. So if you let him reinterpret whatever it is you're perceiving, you will see it is only love. So if I feel fear, I must not yet understand. If I ever feel fear, I'm afraid for anyone else. People will even say it. They'll say, I'm afraid this, right? Show me the truth so that I can see without fear. Opening your mind to healing. So we accept fear not as proof that there's something dangerous, but proof that we're ready to receive correction. We're ready when we're seeing fear like this. Thank you for joining. I love you. Yeah. Okay. Paragraph 2, sentence 3. Judgment is not an essential attribute of God. So this has been what's fueled fear of God for millennia, right? You don't want God's judgment to come down on you. And Jesus is saying judgment is not even one of his characteristics. God doesn't judge because judgment implies evaluation, separation, comparison, all which are totally foreign to oneness. So to judge is to choose between one thing or another. That's an ability we gave ourselves, the ability to judge. So God being absolute and indivisible, he does not perceive any difference. He knows only what he creates and that what he creates is perfect. So judgment is a concept that we introduced after believing in separation. Comes after separation. So we're being shown how to use it. Everything that we made in separation, everything we made in the ego, we're just being shown how to use it. With fear, we're being shown how to see it because he's saying you don't use fear. So this corrects a core fear that's in the human psyche. And just by you letting it be corrected in your mind, you're helping everyone to like click, click, click across the sun chip, okay? If God doesn't judge, then there's nothing to fear from God. So the last judgment must be something entirely different than what the ego imagines it to be. But people are afraid of the last judgment, even if they don't call it that. So to believe God judges is also to believe that God can see something other than himself, other than what he created, which would mean that separation is real. That's why he created sons like him to know him. And they have free will to make illusions. God doesn't even acknowledge illusions, let alone condemn them. He'll never judge you. In his sight, you always remain innocent, pure, eternal, exactly as he created you. Anything you fear judgment, let's say anything you fear judgment for, like you think you did something, I was mean to them at the one time, I probably have some karma or something, is already known to be nothing. So it's going from this perception that the divine condemns to getting divine help in recognizing what's true. Really asking for the help that we need and not being afraid that God's going to condemn us. So this is releasing that subconscious belief that God is watching, evaluating, or keeping score. God is one with you. And this belief is a barrier for you being more intimate in your relationship with God. See, with this having a self that seems to be made of form, the way to know your union is in relationship with God. And you can't be in close relationship with God while you're believing that he's watching you or making judgments on you or evaluating your good and bad works. That's why it says not by works of righteousness in the Bible, right? You're saved through grace, not by works of righteousness. So you don't have to try to be righteous in God's eyes. God is only love, pure love. And there's nothing in you that can possibly be condemned. Nothing needs to be condemned and nothing can be condemned. So let yourself be released. Accepting that judgment is not coming from God. It never had any power. This weird kind of ego judgment that we perceive in the world and we perceive in our minds, this is not real. Are you willing to let it pass away? And by judging that thing as actually being false, that thing has no meaning. That thought, that thing, whatever. So remembering God is only love is the goal here. Yay. All right, paragraph 2, sentence 4. You brought judgment into being only because of the separation. So we talked about this a minute ago. The judgment isn't of God, it's of the ego. It's a consequence of believing in separation. Before there is an illusion of separation, there was no judgment. There were no differences. There was no guilt, no unworthiness, no right or wrong. Perfect, undivided love only for all. So judgment didn't even begin until the mind believed it could be separate and create a separate self. So this belief produced guilt. Immediately, that belief of creating a separate from God produced guilt. And where there's guilt, there has to be judgment. Those go together. The ego invented judgment so that it could be in self-defense all the time. It's a self-defense mechanism. What does judgment do? It assesses threats. It justifies attack. It compares illusions. It establishes hierarchy of value of people and things and all kinds of stuff. So judgment is a symptom. It's a symptom of separation. So if it originated from separation, then it has no place in truth. It has no place in you as God created you. So being part of the illusion and not part of reality, judgment can be used to undo separation and thereby undo judgment itself, undo the whole need for judgment. This is the key to understanding the last judgment. It's not God imposing judgment on humanity. It's undoing judgment altogether by undoing the belief in separation. So since judgment isn't an eternal truth, it's actually a consequence of believing I'm separate. If I choose unity right now, use judgment in that way, if I choose unity, judgment dissolves. It came with separation. Judgment came along with separation, and it's going to leave through union. I choose to remember my union with God. That is basically judging whatever blocks to knowing that union with God as meaningless. Checking on you guys. Okay, you're doing awesome. I love you. So we're going on to Paragraph 2, sentence 5. God himself is still the God of mercy. So this is reassuring, isn't it? Jesus is reminding us that God's nature has never changed, despite all these projections, punishing, wrathful. God remains as he is, pure mercy, pure love, pure innocence. So this following the previous sentence, the judgment came only from the ego's belief in separation. And then it says, God himself is still the God of mercy. He didn't change because of your belief like this. He didn't become a judge just because he believed he was judgmental. He didn't never became a judge. He's remained and has always been mercy. In this context, what Jesus is saying again, this sentence, God himself is still the God of mercy. So in this context, it doesn't mean that God overlooks your sins. It means God knows already you never sinned. God doesn't need forgiveness. God only knows you as a true creation. So it's not forgiveness of wrongdoing. It's recognizing that wrongdoing never occurred in truth. And that's the kind of forgiveness we're asked to extend to the world because we do get a perception of wrongdoing. That's why we need forgiveness. We get the visceral reaction to it and everything. So that's why we use forgiveness. It's like we want to see like God. That's what Christ's vision is. So God's vision says no one's ever sinned. I don't care what the stories are. If it happened after the separation, it didn't really happen. So we remain held in that mercy, uncondemned, unchanged, no matter how much we've been projecting onto ourselves, where we stay with God, wholly loved. See, everything's just so temporary here. It's just a dream. It's just a projection. It's not it's not even serious. So this sentence is meant to help restore your trust in God by affirming in your mind that God is not capable of condemning. Only the ego does that. God holds you in mercy, perfect mercy, because he recognizes only your innocence, because God is innocence. God himself is innocence. So this is preparation still for understanding the last judgment. It's not punishment. God is only mercy. It actually comes from God because God is only mercy. So through God's mercy, you can implement the last judgment, let's say. So whenever you're feeling afraid of consequences, any kind of consequences, spiritual consequences, personal, karmic, anything like that, remember that God is mercy and rest in your innocence because you can collapse time that way. You don't have to go through your karma. You have to go through your sufferings thought by thought, which you have placed in the unconscious mind, but you do not have to go through all their effects. And that's what happens when you start practicing like this. You start collapsing timelines, resting in the certainty of innocence. So, can I allow myself to let God see me as I truly am? These are your eyes looking innocent, beloved, not touched by judgment. How you imagine God looking on you is how it appears to you, and it's made very real to you. God has never changed his mind about you. So you can always come back to the truth. You can always come back to the truth of that. All right, sentence 6. Let's see how many sentences we have here. Oh, that's the last one on paragraph 2, sentence 6. After the separation, however, there was a place for justice in the schema because it was one of the many learning devices which had to be built into the overall plan. So now we made a shift, Jesus shifting from describing God's changeless love, changeless nature, non-judgmental. Now he's talking about justice as a teaching device, as a temporary teaching device. So this is not justice as in meting out any punishment. It's restoring balance to a mind that believes it's not in balance. Before the separation, of course, there was no justice. It was meaningless. What is there justice for what's whole and perfectly loved and equal? After separation, the mind believed in inequality. Now we seem to see manifestations of that, and that's an effect of the mind believing in it. Believing that it could take or lose or be harmed. So justice emerged. That's a way to demonstrate what's out of alignment must be restored to the truth. Whatever's out of alignment must be restored to the truth. The world's justice is weird. Building prisons, right? It's like, you do something wrong and then you get in trouble, you get some kind of punishment. That's not justice. That's not true justice. True justice is restoring innocence, restoring the mind to innocent, not deeming them guilty and then giving them a sentence. That's true justice. But that's just an effect of the way we keep on doing shit in the mind. The prisons we perceive, that's an effect.
Heaven, right? It's like eternal prison. Your punishment.
Yeah, your punishment. Yep, hell is your punishment. Heaven is your reward, right? Either get a reward or a punishment. That's the story. Look how this makes less and less sense all the time. You see? It's like when you use a reasonable mind, it's like, okay, I'm not buying into this judgmental God anymore. I'm not buying into there's either punishment or a reward at the end of the life. How insane is that? So justice serves one function. It corrects misperception. It shows that fear and guilt cannot prevail over the truth. They're not equal. This is the level confusion he was talking about. It's like guilt on one hand, truth on the other hand, but truth is like this. It's like all you have to do is acknowledge that the truth is true. But they are mutually exclusive. So if you're acknowledging that guilt is true, you're making that true for yourself, you can't see the truth. And when you're acknowledging the truth is true, you can't see the guilt. You just enjoy that the truth is true and nothing has done anything to the truth. Change the truth. Restoring the mind to sanity. That's what God's justice is. So there's an important metaphysical principle here. And it's that justice is a form of love. It's not used to condemn, it's used to teach. It teaches that the mind is innocent. That's what justice is. It ensures that what's true is upheld and what's false is undone. So justice in this context means that illusions do not replace the truth. Miscreation cannot overturn creation. Just because someone's been miscreating, believing ideas that are not true, doesn't overturn creation. Doesn't have any real effects, let's say. And error can never triumph over your innocence. Anything that denies your innocence is error. Or anyone's innocence is error, because it's all you. So when you hear the term justice, you might think of legal consequences, right? The justice system, fairness battles, custody battles, stuff like that, retribution. You could have to pay retribution, or I think that's what it's called. Mess someone up. So justice truly means that the truth will be restored to my mind and innocence will prevail. So we all want justice. Everyone wants justice. We have shared interest in justice prevailing in the world. So we see justice not as punishment, but as our certainty that love will correct all error. So that willingness that's offered in the moment to allow love to correct error is where it starts. And it just keeps on building up until you're totally certain about it. Am I willing right now? That's the question. Am I willing to embrace this kind of justice? This gentle assurance that nothing has gone wrong, that nothing real can be threatened. I'm real, and nothing unreal exists. Everyone doing good? Need any clarifications or anything? All right. You doing okay? All right. All right, awesome. Paragraph 3, sentence 1. Just as the separation occurred over many millions of years, here's where he says it, over many millions of years. Seems like a long time, right? The last judgment will extend over a similarly long period, and perhaps even longer. All right, wait for it. Don't get disheartened. All right, so Jesus is now introducing the concept of time in relation to the last judgment, isn't he? He's saying that the human mind that still believes in linear times and processes for the human mind is going to take millions of years to undo this. That's why he was saying, you know, we've been losing ground, right? So just as the separation wasn't a single moment, it was a process of continuing to fragment in perception. The undoing of separation, the last judgment, is also a process of healing. So the sentence is not making a literal claim about millions of years. It's speaking to the scale of misperception we've built over time. And so the need for a progressive undoing. Um, when I read something like this, have an experience with something like this, I recognize we're at the early stages of this. We're at the very early stages of this because we haven't even gotten to the point where we perceive that we're in command of these particles yet. To some degree, yes, from my perception, just because of dealing with things like, let's say, a symptom of sickness and the practice of recognizing that the sickness is me projecting right now, and it's only caused by a defense against the truth, that symptoms disappear. It's like they lose their legs, they got no roots, they can't stay. So the symptoms just disappear. So that to me is one way that I see the mind being in command of the particles. Why is it being called command? because the particles want to join in love with you. When you're willing to join in love, when you're bringing them back to the wholeness, that is an example of bringing it back to the wholeness. This symptom is allowed to be in wholeness because it's just recognizing this symptom as an experience and not as something that was caused by the past, which is what? Past thoughts, which are preoccupying my mind all the time, making all kinds of sickness all the time. It's just a habit, right? So as we continue to practice in this same kind of way and continue to see differently, we get more and more help. We become more and more open. So, yeah, I mean, we're going to see amazing miracles. Jesus says we'll see more miracles than what came through him in his apparent time as a man cruising around healing people. Yeah, he's just cruising around with his posse, you know, walking everywhere. So, all right. So the last judgment isn't a final moment in time, it's a process of undoing separation, one mind at a time and thought by thought. As each meaningless thought arises, it's seen as not real, not meaningful, not helpful. You know, the ego is trying to be helpful. He really is. He thinks that you are guilty and you think that you deserve to die, and he wants to make sure that that occurs every time. He kills you in little ways all throughout. It's like that saying, life is a bitch, then you die. It's like that saying, right? That becomes, this is just the way it is. And we agree on the way things are. That's what gives it power at all. So the ego holds on to these fearful thoughts about the last judgment like it's a sudden event where God condemns, like, oh shit. Some people, when they pass over, when you could say they cross over into the spirit realm, and you know how some people come back, there's a shitload of those NDEs. So I started watching them, right? Near death experiences. I started watching these fuckers to see what's going on, right? It's it's basically a projection of their own consciousness that's happening there. That's why everyone's having a different, but something soothing. Isn't that sweet though? Because your burdens of the world aren't there. So it's an aspect of the consciousness. And everyone who comes back talks about how sweet it was and how much love they felt and everything like that. It's because that's you. Yeah. Well, they pretend to have that conversation and they actually do decide to go back in. Everyone just pretends to have that conversation. It's just, it's part of the illusion. I've heard it called, and I don't know where, it might even be in A Course in Miracles, I'm not sure, the death realm. So I've heard it called the death realm just because you're free of all your burdens and everything, but you have this urge to keep on coming back in here. Right? And the reason why is because you have to purify a guilty self-concept. That's why when you go to the death realm, it doesn't last. You end up back over here. Either your memory is wiped or it's not. If you're going back usually into the same life, you still retain your memory. But if you're going through newborn baby route, usually, sometimes not. There's been stories. Hey, a little kid going, I'm that person. And I know all this, and I know all this, and I know all this. So that's also for the awakening of consciousness as well. People just, it's shocking. People are like, what the fuck? Everything we thought was true isn't true. We thought they were gone when they die. How the fuck did they remember a life? So the last judgment has a purpose, and that's to patiently go through every thought, every illusion that we've believed over countless lifetimes. Okay, and apply this last judgment to everything. It's a guarantee that you're going to return to truth. Having this ability to judge being repurposed to the last judgment. So, how this applies to when you feel impatient. Because now we're talking about millions of years to undo something, right? What if you feel impatient about your spiritual progress? This is going too slow, or you're discouraged, or you seem to still be reactive and you've been practicing for a while. I'm already in the process of the last judgment. I'm already doing it. It's already being done. It's being done through me. Think of it yourself truly like you're floating down a river to the ocean. This is actually going to make it go faster. That's the thing. When you lament, oh, I should be further along, or you give into impatience or something like that, you're refusing to just flow with it and let it flow through you. So you're making it take longer. You want it to go as fast as it can possibly go. Get really good at relaxing. That's how you do it. Because when you're not relaxing, it's like you're trying to swim up the river. You're getting exhausted. You think you're going down the river, but you're going up the river because you don't know the direction when you're upset. When you're upset, you need help knowing the direction. The direction is relaxation. You don't try to swim. Float. Float, don't swim. Okay. So there's no future crisis. No crisis coming in the future. The last judgment has been used to loom this future crisis. You know, all of a sudden the heavens just going to open up and all right, it's time for all the bad fuckers to go to hell and the good ones to go to heaven. So it's a healing journey that we're safely participating in. Safely. That's why we can relax. Nothing touches us. It's just when we believe that something's threatening, it seems threatening to us. And just making threats real sets us up for sickness and accidents and conflict and stuff like that. So, let me check on you, sweetie pies. Okay. Paragraph 3, sentence 2. Let's go back to the last sentence first, because it's talking about the last judgment will extend over a similarly long period and perhaps even longer. And then sentence 2 says its length depends, however, on the effectiveness of the present speed up. So that's up to us. And really, we need to learn how to relax. It's not like this, hurry up and relax. It's like, it's really simple. I mean, this was the very first thing that came to me probably like 20 years ago when I first started just dabbling in spirituality. You got to learn how to relax. And you can't do that through stress. You can't stress your way to relaxation. It's like it won't happen, right? Even when you tell yourself, I got to make more room for myself to relax, you're already stressing out. You just relax right now. See, when you're willing to embrace your experience and be relaxed with your experience, all manner of manifestation of relaxation, like you're at the spa or something, just occurs, right? Or you're able, you feel like you're able, most people don't feel like they're able to take a couple hours and have some block therapy. They're too busy. They're like, how do you have time for this? I've been practicing relaxing for a long time. I've been practicing that. It's just a matter of would I be willing to see this in a more comfortable and relaxed way than the way I made it up? You know, when God changes everything, so you say knowledge of God changes everything, the way you're perceiving things as a threat and you see them as a blessing now, that's relaxing. So I want to see this, I want to see things differently if I'm ever tense. I just want to see things differently. It's easy. And just wanting it, you get it. You get what you want. See how simple that is? So there's a footnote here, footnote 167. It says, this is another reference to the celestial speed up from Miracle Principle 48, in which certain people are being called into physical incarnation to help counteract the world going backwards spiritually. So Miracle Principle 48 says, you do have special talents which are needed for the celestial speed up at this time. But note that the term speed up is not one which relates to the transcending of time. We're actually collapsing time. That's why. We're not trying to transcend time. We are making it shorter, literally. Because right now it's longer, at least in the 70s when he channeled this, he was saying it's longer the time it's going to take from this point forward if no speed up is done than you've spent building separation, which has been millions of years. So no one wants that. Maybe the ego does. Yeah, another millions of years. Okay, good. So Jesus is revealing that the undoing of the separation can be greatly accelerated. And he's saying not by abolishing time, but repurposing time for healing instead of using it for delay. The ego's purpose for time is delay, because that's the way the ego keeps a job. So what he's calling the present speed up is a coordinated effort of spirit. It's where all these willing minds are being called to use their unique gifts. What are your unique gifts? You don't have to look for anything special. Your particular way of perceiving is enough. There's no thing that you need to do or present to the world. If you do, you'll find yourself doing it. You don't need to get your special purpose and make yourself a resume about that. It's like this manner of perceiving, the way you're perceiving is perfect for this. That's your purpose. So we're going to use our unique gifts, which is our unique way of perceiving, to collapse time simply by choosing miracles. What I thought happened did not happen. Anything that strikes fear in your heart, anything that seems mean or bad or wrong, right? Okay, so the reference text is clarifying a couple of vital points here. One, you do have special talents, not ego specialness. There's a unique configuration of your perception. And the Spirit is going to use that to advance healing for all. You don't even need to know or identify it. The term speed up is not one which relates to transcending of time. Jesus makes that clear. This means we're not skipping by time. We're using miracles to actually shorten it. It has not been transcended yet. Time hasn't been transcended yet, but it's being compressed to minimize the delay and suffering that take place until it is transcended. The thing about time being extended, the longer it goes, the more apparent suffering occurs in there, and that's not God's will for anyone. So Jesus isn't trying to push you with a sense of urgency here. He's letting you know that you're carried with purpose. That's the way to see it. I'm being carried with purpose. This is not about doing more for the speed up. This is the ego's way of seeing shit, right? We're allowing love to use us more willingly here. You are part of the celestial speed up if you hear this. Your talents are not at random. That means your way of perceiving is not a random way of perceiving. It's perfect for this. Your life as you made it is perfect for this. Okay, it's not an evaluation on you. It's given you because it's perfect for elevating the sonship through you. This isn't about rushing, it's about efficiency. Your willingness to collapse time that would otherwise take a lot more lifetimes is how it happens. It's just this willingness. Rather than asking, how long will this awakening take? Ask, how much am I willing to let my mind be used right now? Holy Spirit, I offer my talents to the celestial speed up. Use them for healing. Collapse time for me, collapse time for everyone. So this is aligning you with your pre-incarnation agreement to be a bringer of light, specifically during this time, collective acceleration. So accepting our part in this plan, not to endure anything, not to suffer, to shorten time and to shorten suffering for everyone. It's about using our life, using our body, using all the resources, using everything we seem to have in our perceived life to undo delay, to hasten the remembrance of love. When you use everything for that, it becomes useful for that. That's just how it is. When that's your intention, that's how it goes. Let this be used in service to the awakening. Asking for every relationship to do that as well, instead of trying to get things for the ego. How does this benefit the ego? That's how the ego looks at things. How does this benefit me as something separate? All right. So, paragraph 3, sentence 3. We have frequently noted that the miracle is a device for shortening, but not abolishing time. That is the one I just did, isn't it? Let me see. Yeah. Paragraph 3, sentence 3. Hang on a second. Let me see where we are. Paragraph 3, sentence 1. Just as a separation occurred over millions of years, the last judgment will extend over a similarly long period and perhaps longer. Sentence 2. Its length, however, depends on the effectiveness of the present speed up. Yes, we read that one. And then we have, so sentence 3, we have frequently noted that the miracle is a device for shortening but not abolishing time. That's why I thought we already read that one, because it was in a footnote too on another sentence. And that has a footnote, miracle principle 47, sentences 1 to 4. We said before that the miracle abolishes time. It does this by a process of collapsing it. It thus abolishes certain intervals within it, so we don't have to live those intervals. It does this, however, within the larger temporal sequence. So, and that's miracle principle 48. So everything that occurs is helpful to the larger temporal, temporary sequence. And it goes to the special talents again, and it goes to section 5 of paragraph 2. One of the footnotes refers to, in this sense, the atonement saves time, but like the miracle which serves it, with miracle which serves the atonement, does not abolish time. So it's shortening time, the atonement and the miracle, shortening time, not abolishing time. So this is a profound teaching actually about the nature of time and your role in its undoing. Miracles do collapse time because they remove need for learning through pain or delay. That's karma. Okay, that's what karma is. It abolishes intervals. A miracle abolishes intervals within time where suffering or ego processing would normally need to unfold to get to that next level. So, see how making illusion sets out the solution, but in time, over a long period of time. That's why we've got this speed up. So, this occurs within time because the mind still believes in time. Okay, let me read the sentence again. We have frequently noted that the miracle is a device for shortening but not abolishing time. The miracle occurs in time because the mind's believing in time. This is a learning device for the mind. You are personally called to participate in this process. That's why Jesus is saying you do have special talents. Your willingness to be miracle minded accelerates the speed up to everyone. That's why I always say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you to everyone doing this. It's so, so helpful. It's truly the only thing that's any kind of productive or effective or helpful at all that you can do in the world is be miracle minded. So the atonement serves the same purpose as the miracle. It's not erasing time prematurely, it's using it for healing. So miracles aren't ending time, but they're making it unnecessary, kind of slowly at first. But once a lot of us get on board with it too, and we're all doing it together, it's going to start going a lot faster. You see, you can see that speed up, like even the difference between one person doing it and two on the earth, it's like it's having huge effects. And people are noticing, my two friends that I'm hanging out with right now, they're noticing the things that I'm talking to them about. They're saying 6 months ago they wouldn't have heard it the same. Right. And you go back a little bit further than that, and they're just like writing you off as crazy saying this kind of stuff, right? But this is an effect of this celestial speed up that's underway. Those who are ready to see are starting to see, and you're going to see too. You become teachers to the ones who are ready to see in your environment, you can say. They're going to recognize you and go, oh, let me have some of that. Right? This is the end of those days where we just like revere a guru or something and they're way better than us and we're lowly. No, we're accessing Christ consciousness, each of us, so that we can bring true miracles to this world that's been darkened by fear and light it up and light up the mind of God. So you're not bound by time. Time is actually bound by your mind. That's how it is. You're not bound, you're not bound in that way at all. And you can keep on transcending consciousness even before, just like Jesus did, just like the man Jesus did, extended consciousness until he's Christ consciousness. And then when you're Christ consciousness, you're still helping everyone out, but you're not going through these sufferings because they're not necessary for you anymore. Because you saw through them. That's all. It's not like you got a gift for being good. You saw right through them. You saw that they don't really affect anyone. So, whenever you're choosing forgiveness over judgment and miracles instead of attack and willingness over your resistance, you are participating in that celestial speed up. You're helping to collapse time. You're fulfilling your function. How do you know when you're fulfilling your function? Do you know how you totally it can be sure you're fulfilling your function in that moment? You're fucking happy. Like that's how that works. Because fulfilling your function is happiness. All right. So, are you willing to accept that you've been called for this? Are you willing to let the Holy Spirit use your unique gifts, which is your way of perceiving, to help collapse time? And that doing so is not a burden on you. It's not like I'm making a sacrifice for the world. Well, instead of living a good ass life where I get all my things that I think I want, I'm actually going to sacrifice and save the world. It just doesn't make any sense, because it is your joy to do this. Nothing is better than this. You would give up everything for this, but you don't really have to give anything of the world up. You just recognize that it has no power over you. All right, we got 20 minutes. It looks like I might do a couple more sentences here. We'll see. Sentence 4, paragraph 3. We are in section 13 of chapter 2, the real meaning of the last judgment. Sentence 4. If a sufficient number of people become truly miracle-minded quickly, the shortening process can be almost immeasurable. So he's now revealing the extraordinary power of collective willingness. But you notice we don't have to go out and get people. It's just us being willing. It attracts, mind energy attracts. So we're given people to join with when we're willing to join with God. So this is shortening time for all minds because we're all joined together with God. The key phrase here, let's read it again. If a sufficient number of people become truly miracle-minded quickly. So the truly miracle-minded means not just believing miracles are possible, but consistently choosing miracle perception over ego perception. Choosing forgiveness over judgment. Choosing unity over separation. It's a choice. So this is what truly miracle-minded means. It's teaching that this speed up of the world's healing isn't dependent on chronological time. It's the number of minds choosing miracles and choosing true miracles. It's not really about the quantity of people, it's about quality of perception. That's why A Course in Miracles, it just really takes one from your perception, your world to collapse, your apparent world to collapse, which that's basically, you got to the end of time for you. You got to the end of time. That was it. You just walked right out of it because you were done purifying from the guilty self-concept. That's just how it occurs. It's only a guilty self-concept tying you to the world. So that's why it really only takes you. As far as the whole world and everyone who believes they're separate, yes, the more people that see what's true, even are aware of their Christ consciousness, the easier it's going to be for everyone and the faster it's going to be for everyone to wake up to. Just me going and noticing, I talk to people now and they seem to get it so much faster than I did and when I was going through it. And it's just because the mind has been trained more toward this way of seeing, myself and others who have seen that this is what you do. This is the way you look at it. You look at it different. You look at it through the Holy Spirit's eyes. The world isn't going to like it, especially at first. They get used to it though. They kind of get trained, just like they've been trained to be as they are when your mind's all steeped in separation. So when a critical mass of minds, however many that is, it's more quality than quantity though, are aligning with miracle mindedness, the collapse can accelerate beyond measurement. So it just can begin to dissolve rapidly. That's what we're doing. That's why I was like, shoot, there's nothing else for me to do. Just collapsing illusions, collapsing time. So miracle mindedness is the trigger for exponential awakening. It's not something to take lightly. It's not passive. It's a call to serve your function. This is not about being passive. It's actually you're watching and you're choosing because you are choosing. And let's look at it this way too. You've been passively choosing with the ego. That's what happens when you're passive about it. You automatically choose with the ego because it's the default choice to be making. So this is driven by your willingness to see it differently than the way you've been trained to see things. You're not alone in this. When you choose healing, everyone's affected by that. It serves everyone. Like I said, it's the only service you can do. So this is yeah, this is literally changing the trajectory of time for all beings. Every instant that you choose, it's changing it for all beings. It's very powerful. And that's how powerful you are when you're making the decision for truth. You know, when you're making the decision for illusion, you're basically not changing anything. You're making the future just like the past. This has already been calculated to be the way you go along with it in the projection of future time. But it actually changes the future because it releases it to truth. So, are you willing today to accept that your little willingness, are you willing to accept that your little bit of willingness can and will collapse centuries of delay for countless beings? See, this isn't a like a some kind of self-help thing to get you. It like goes way deeper than that. It's like you've been called to awaken all beings, and this is your true joy, and there's nothing else that's going to make you happy. Try as you might to find something else. This is the only thing that's ever going to make you happy. And would I let myself feel the significance of that, of choosing miracle mindedness, and how important it is that I choose miracle mindedness, or at least will in that direction as much as I can, and be a happy learner when I perceive myself screwing it up. Remember, you're only screwing it up in your perception. That should be helpful. Perception can be corrected. All right, sentence 5, unless any of you peeps that are online, you guys are all doing awesome. Thank you for joining. Sentence 5, paragraph 3. But it is essential that these individuals free themselves from fear sooner than would ordinarily be the case. You hear that, what he's saying? So he's asking us to free ourselves from fear sooner than would ordinarily be the case, because they must emerge from the basic conflict. That's the conflict between love and fear that we went over, if they are to bring peace to the minds of others. So we are being called to be free of the basic conflict sooner than would ordinarily be the case. But we want it sooner because this is how we don't have to go through so much suffering. All those millions of years that we've set out as a future includes a lot of suffering. We don't want all this. Each life is like that. No one wants this bullshit. It's not real, and we don't need to keep on doing it. So Jesus is saying, he's calling on us now to, sooner than would ordinarily be the case, emerge from basic conflict. Okay, that's love and fear, so that we can have peace in our mind. It's the only way we can bring peace to others is by allowing peace in our own mind. So he's giving us here a direct instruction to how to participate in this celestial speed up. Okay, and of course that includes you. This is not for you to be perfect or spiritually superior. It's about you being free from fear. You need to be free from fear. Why? Because fear is binding your mind in conflict. It's making you believe that when you get an upset feeling, something is actually wrong. Instead of it being something kind of is wrong, it's confusion. There's no threat in the world, though. So a conflicted mind can't extend peace. You can't give what you haven't accepted for yourself. So, to emerge from the basic conflict means to recognize that you cannot be both ego and spirit. This is really what it is. You know, Jesus did a lot of talking about this in the basic conflict section. We're believing that we're both. We're not both, we're only one. I tell my friends, you are not human. And you know, they'll no, you know, it's a human thing. I know, but you're not human. Right? So you can either keep that concept or not. That's the sorting out. You can say, nah, I won't keep that one. Don't like the feeling that comes with it. So you have to choose one. You have to choose ego or spirit. When you choose both, you're choosing ego. That's what Jesus is saying. You cannot have both. You're just choosing ego. You've made spirit into something that can coexist with ego. They do not coexist. So those called to accelerate the awakening must choose consistently for spirit, as in spirit is my identity. See? Like I am Jesus. I have no problem saying that. I've been saying that for years, actually. That's why I have no problem saying that. One time it just came on and out on Wisdom Dialogues, and I was like, yeah, that's true. I said that to my mom during a Bible study. It was pretty funny. Her face was fun. I expected something like blasphemy to come out of her mouth. But I think she felt it. Yeah, I got the sense that she felt it because she didn't have a response to it. She didn't say, no, you're not. She did not say, no, you're not, Jesus. Which, of course, if she said, no, you're not, I would just say, okay. Yeah, that's cool. So you have to consistently choose for spirit as your identity. See that? Not as something outside of yourself. I am spirit. I am spirit. I'm not something else. I'm not mixed, right? You don't mix with anything else. Spirit is spirit, right? That's the purity in it. We don't mix with illusion, right? I wonder if they got that thing like earlier on where it seemed like if you mixed races, that was bad. That would seem like an ego interpretation. Is that pretty funny or what? Keep the race pure. Don't mix them. It's just taking what it's saying and making it for the ego's gain. See that? Yeah, but what it's saying is do not mix spirit with illusion. Because when you do that, you take yourself to be an illusion, cause suffering, and basically extend that. Well, it's projection. It's called projection by A Course in Miracles. Jesus differentiates between projecting something and actually being something. So it's like there's this projection of separation. If I say I'm ego and spirit, the mind just hears you're split, takes it as you're an ego. So when we consistently choose spirit, that makes us channels for peace. So the call to free yourself here, what Jesus is doing is calling you to free yourself. It's not a demand on you. It's an invitation to liberation. And the way if he seems like he's saying it in a forceful way, like wake the fuck up, that's because that's what you want. You're authoring it like that too. Okay. You want it like that because you were saying when you said, I'm going to go in and do this thing, I want to know, come around, tell me about it, right? So you're not being asked to be fearless by your effort. It's willing to let fear be replaced with love. Would you exchange that fear for what's actually true? And the sooner fear is given up, the sooner your function gets fulfilled. So we have to get past this basic conflict. And what he's saying is that we have to do it quicker than normal. So it's radical, for me, it's just a radical relaxation in the mind. Doesn't mean I can't find myself doing stuff. You know, the ego always has a hard time with that concept that I need do nothing. That's what gives me the relaxation. That doesn't mean I'm opposed to doing something. You're not doing this for yourself alone, you're doing it on behalf of the whole sonship. So your peace is a source of peace for others. Your being at peace becomes their source of peace because there's someone in the world that they can relate with. Someone apparently in the world demonstrating peace. This helps so many people. So choosing to be free of fear because I'm here to bring peace to others. I've had that in my mind where I've experienced struggle, a fearful thought arising in my mind, and I'll think of my friends and recognizing that if I don't see the truth, that messes them up. So I want to see the truth. So that's helped me by giving me incentive. It shifts this relationship with fear and this personal struggle. Poor me, I'm in this relationship or whatever's going on, to I want to help all my friends. I certainly don't want to set them back, right? Am I willing to release fear, not just for my own peace, but because my mind is needed? That has helped me many times to pull out of perceived struggle, knowing that this affects people that I love, people that I know and love, my kids, my husband, my immediate family, and everyone, all my friends, right? And everyone in the world. So when it makes it more personal to you to live on that divine purpose, recognizing you're not alone in this at all. So, hooray, everyone. That was a fun session. That was a 2-hour session. We covered 3 paragraphs that time. That was pretty good because last time we covered 3 sentences. Yeah, people had a lot of commentary back and forth, and it was what it needed to be for sure. Yay, hooray! You came right at the end. I'll be back next week, Monday and Tuesday again next week, okay? Um, and it's the same time. Over here, it's 3 o'clock. That's when I start. And this is Arizona. I believe Pacific time is 2 o'clock. And Hawaii time is noon. That'll be Monday and Tuesday. You get it now. Yay. Well, this will be posted soon, so you'll be able to watch it. It was really fun. I think you'll enjoy it too. I think we went nice and deep like we usually do. So, yeah, until next time, visit hopejohnson.org if you want to get to any of my stuff or book me or, I do one-to-ones. So that's what I mean by book me. I also have a book and you can chat. It's called Unschooling for Parents. You don't need to be a parent to get it. You could also get it on Amazon for less than you get it on my website because then Amazon ships it. You can donate via my website, and I have something set up where you could set up monthly donations if you want. You can do it that way. And yeah, all the links and all the fun stuff. Thank you so much for joining. And next week we will continue with paragraph 4, sentence 1. We're still on the true meaning of the last judgment. Yay. Mahalo, aloha, and a hui ho, everyone. Yay.